Hello everyone, welcome back again to the CompTIA Security Plus Practice Exam series. Today we are going to discuss the episode 3 of this practice exam series. Just on your request, this is a continuation of the last series which was ended before 2 months, but this is a continuous just on your request. So without wasting time, let's get dive into it. So here is the first question. You are reviewing the IDS logs and notice the following login tray, where the email is support@diontraining.com and the password is equal to apostrophe or 7 double equal to 7 apostrophe. So what that means actually, what type of attack is being performed? So it is obviously it's an SQL injection attack. We are injecting the colon, a single colon which will end the password field, and then we are sending 7 equal to 7, which is mean that 1 equal to 1, or like it's the true condition. So whatever if this is executed and it's not valid, this input is not validated, then obviously that database will return us the queries, and this query will be select all query. So it is actually a SQL injection attack. We are injecting a colon there and we can do whatever we want. So it's a SQL injection attack. So let's go for the next question. You have been hired as a cybersecurity analyst for a privately owned bank. Which of the following regulation would have the greatest impact on your bank's cybersecurity program? So we are actually hired for the privately owned bank. Okay, so what is the regulation? So the regulation which is handling the privately owned bank is always going to be a GLBA. GLBA is actually Grand Lease Bailey Act. This act is actually taking the care of the banking transfers, actually the users, the privacies, and how they are sharing or transferring the information and other data. So this is the regulation which is actually taking care of privately owned bank financially, GLBA. So next, an attacker is searching in Google for Cisco VPN configuration files by using the file type. So the attacker was able to locate several of these configuration files and now wants to decode any connectivity password that they might contain. What tool should the attacker use? So none of the main common tools are mentioned, like John the Ripper or the other one, Hashcat, but the other tool that is mentioned here is Chain Enable. This is a tool which is also used for the password, for the hash cracking, for the password brute force attacks and different things. So this is the one the answer should be. You are working as a part of the server team for an online retail store. Due to the upcoming holidays, your boss is worried that the current servers may not be able to handle the increased demand during a big sale. Okay, the big sale is coming up, and we need to expand our server. Which of the following cloud computing concepts can quickly allow services to scale upward during busy periods and scale down during in slower periods based on the changing user demand? So this is the case where we actually, when using the cloud services, we can actually buy more service, and actually when we don't need, we can actually uh, uh, we can actually whatever resource pooling, on demand, rapid elasticity. So the answer should be rapid elasticity, because it's an elasticity, it's a technology used or it's a technique or method technology used by the cloud service provider, that whenever your demand is high, you can actually request for the more service, and your demand is low, you can actually leave those services and go back to your previous position. Maybe this is the correct way to say. Rapid elasticity is the correct answer. On demand service is also on demand services, you are requesting the services, but rapid elasticity is regarding the scaling and other stuff. Nick is participating in a security exercise as a part of network defense team for his organization. Which team is Nick playing on? So, as the as the question is mentioning, Nick is participating in security exercise as a part of network defense team. If it's a defense team, then it should be a blue team. Which of the following security policies could help detect fraudulent cases that occur even the other security controls are already in place? Okay, least privileges. Okay, least privilege can help us. Separation of duties can also help us. Dual control meaning they control two persons are controlling the same thing. Okay, but the true answer would be the mandatory vacations, because for example you have a team that are continuously working on a project. Maybe they are missing something. If you send them to the mandatory vacation, the other team will come up, and there is most possibility that they can get that vulnerability or that weakness, that misconfiguration that the previous team haven't able to do that. So the mandatory vacation is one of the good choice to do, so you to detect any fraudulent cases and etc. Fraudulent cases, maybe your team, your maybe insider attack, insider threat is actually giving you a problem also. In that case also the mandatory vacation will be a good choice. What regulation protects the privacy of student educational records? So student education records are actually maintained by FERPA actually, sorry. So FERPA is actually Family Educational Rights Privacy Act. Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. So this is the act which is actually controlling all the stuff regarding the education and etc. GELBA is also, I also already mentioned that is regarding the private bank policies. HIPAA is actually healthcare, and SOX is actually regarding the financial. It's also regarding the financial, that the where you guys are storing the data. You are notified by an external organization that an IP address associated with your company's email server has been sending spam emails requesting funds as a part of lottery collection scam. An investigation into the incident reveals the email account used was Connor. Connor is the name of the person, maybe from the sales department, and that's the Connor's email account was only used for one work from one workstation. Okay, it means that he is maybe a attacker, or his machine has been compromised. You analyze Connor's workstation and discover several unknown processes running. Okay, but NetFlow analysis reveals no attempted lateral movement to other workstation. Okay, other workstation are okay on the network. Which containment strategy would be the most effective to use in this scenario? So in this case, you first of all, what you need to do, you need to go and change his passwords credentials. So whoever is actually trying to access the corners through even from a remote procedure, we can actually contain the attack. Request disciplinary action from the corner will not going to be help. Unplug the workstation. Unplugging the workstation is actually not a good idea, because maybe this could be a, a critical part of the organization. Isolate the workstation computer by disabling the switch port and reset corner username. That would be a great idea. So first of all, isolate the workstation for a while, but by disabling the switch port it is actually accessing. Then change this username and password, and then um, uh, keep it back to the previous state. Isolate the network segmentation corner is not going to be help us for forensics. First of all, you need to change this credentials, username and passwords. Which of the following hashing algorithm results in a 128-bit fixed output? 128-bit fixed output. It's a 256. It's a 160. It's a 128, and it's this maybe different 306 3056 maybe. So MD5 is actually a 128-bit fixed output. Michael has just finished installing a new database application on her server. Mikely or Michelet maybe is a good pronunciation for this name, has just finished installing the new database application on her server. She then proceeds to uninstall the sample configuration file, properly configures the application setting, and updates the software to a latest version according to her company policy. So she tried her best to protect the application from the vulnerability. Okay, what best describe the action of Michelet just took? It's actually application hardening. Obviously, it is actually hardening the application configuration rules and everything, so no vulnerability left behind. Which operating system feature is designed to detect malware that is loaded earlier in the system startup process or before the operating system can load itself? So in this case, the malware that is loaded before the operating system feature that actually checks that before the boot, that if there is a malware installed in the operating system that starts automatically with the startup, is actually a measured boot. It's actually measured and checked for the malware before the system boots up or before the operating system actually boots up. Which of the following hashing algorithm results in the 160-bit fix? 160-bit fix is a SHA-1. Okay, next. I already clicked once HA, so we're just waiting for the next question to light up. Don't waste my time. Okay. Which of the following protocol is commonly used to collect information about CPU utilization and memory usage from network devices? Obviously, SNMP. Simple network management protocol will help you to get the CPU utilization and other stuff regarding the network connected devices. It's a simple mail transfer protocol. It's NetFlow is a different protocol. MIB is also a different protocol. SNMP, simple network management protocol, is the correct answer. Which term is used in software development to refer to a method in which app and platform updates are committed to a production environment rapidly? So it is actually asking us the production environment rapidly. It is obviously a CD, which is continuous deployment. We are continuously deploying our application as is in the part of the development. So production environment rapidly committed the updates. This is the key part. Updates are committed rapidly. Is always into a continuous deployment. We are continuously deploying the updates. Next, Dave's company utilizes Google G Suite environment for file sharing and office productivity, Slack for internal messaging, and AWS for hosting their web server. Which of the following cloud models type of cloud deployment model is being used? So it is actually using the different providers, Google, Slack, and AWS. So it is actually using the multi-cloud. Obviously, private it will be if it's using one of the service for some AWS. Public will be the G Suite environment, and community will actually includes the Slack. But the multi-cloud is the correct answer, which is where it is actually using the different service providers. So multi-cloud. You walked up behind a penetration testing in your organization and saw the following output on their Kali Linux terminal. So the terminal said attempt, target this, target is this, logins are this is login with the usernames are these, and the passwords are these. It's obviously a brute force attack. Connecting a brute force attack attempt to a remote service 142. Conducting a ping sweep? No, it's not a ping sweep. It's actually sending the different credentials, trying different credential, pair of different credential to check if we get the access. So it's obviously a brute force attack. You are conducting a code review of a program and observe the following calculation of 0 FFF plus 1. 0 FFF plus 1 is always going to be a input validation. integer overflow was attempted, but the result was returned as 0000. Based on this, what exploit of cloud be created against this program? It's obviously an integer overflow. It is actually overflowing the integers. So it is actually a full uh, volume and full buffer, and is plus one will going to be overflow. It's not SQL injection. SQL injection is different. Which of the following does a user agent request a resource from when conducting a SAML transaction? So whenever SAML is actually requesting for a transaction, it always going for the SP service provider to provide me the service. So service provider will send a service, then the identity provider will authenticate the service. Single sign-on is actually also a SAML. So service provider will provide you a user agent for transaction. A new security appliance was installed on a network as a part of managed service deployment. The vendor is who controls the appliance, and the IT team is not able to log in or configure it. Okay, there is no control for the IT team. The IT team is concerned about the appliance receiving necessary updates. Okay, it needs necessary updates. Which of the following mitigation should be performed to minimize the concern of the appliance and updates? Okay, in this case, whenever this scenario has comes up, you need to where you are not allowed to actually actively uh, participate or actively conduct any security measures as per the policy. You always need to go for the passive scan. So let's check what are the passive scans mentioned here. Configuration management, obviously no, that will be a passive again. Scan and patch the device. You can scan but not patch the device, because patching is only by the management team. Automatic updates will also be going to be managed by the service provider. Vulnerability scanning is only left with which is a passive scanning, a passive uh, scanning. Yes, so this will be the going to be the answer for this question. Vulnerability scanning. What information should be recorded on a chain of custody from during a forensic investigation? For a chain of custody, you need to record each and everything, like which person collected this one, to whom it actually handed over next, then which person to to whom the second person transferred, then the third person record, fourth person record, and what actually happened with the evidence till it get to the court. So you need to record each and everything. The list of former owner operators on workstation involved in investigation. Okay, the law of enforcement agent, not only the law of enforcement, everyone. A list of individual who made contact with the files. Okay, but also the participant. Any individual who worked with the evidence during the investigation is the right answer. Which of the following ports should you block at the firewall if you want to prevent a remote login to a server from occurring? So which port is actually here, which is actually providing us the remote login? 80 is HTTP, 21 is actually FTP, 143 is also a different. Which one is 143? I don't remember yet. 22 is actually going to be SSH, which is a remote login. You are conducting threat hunting on your organization network. Every workstation on the network uses the same configuration baseline and contains a 500 GB HDD, 4 GB of RAM, and the Windows 10 Enterprise operating system. You know from previous experience that the most of the workstation only uses 40 GB of space on a hard drive. Since the most users save their files on their file 7 state of the local workstation, you discover one workstation that has over 250 GB of data stored on it. Which of the following is likely the hypothesis of what is happening? In this case, before we going to the provided solution or provided answer. If this is the happening case, you should it would be either maybe data exfiltration is done happening on this server. Maybe like maybe they are using it's like the middle pivot server to actually get the data, and and transfer that data from from this server to actually command and control. And it or it is a or the maybe the attacker is actually filling up the rest of the space on the this server, or maybe installing some ransomware. The host might use the stage area for data exfiltration. Yes, you should conduct volume based trend analysis. Yes, maybe the most offline and conducting backups locally. Uh, this should not be a case, because it's saying that Discover Workstation has, because as per the previous statements, it is also conducting the local backups, but the backup will never going to be this much unusually. The host might be used as a command and control node for botnet. You should immediately disconnect the from command and control can be used, but for the command and control there is no means to it the space will going to be to above 40 or 50. 250 GB is huge. The host might be victim of remote access trojan. You should re-image the image. Can be, but the best answer will be the data exfiltration, because data exfiltration in the case of data exfiltration, it is actually storing the data, getting the data from different services to its own local server, and then sending it to its actually previous botnet. So this would be a case in this way. So yes, data exfiltration. Next, DION Training conducts weekly vulnerability scanning on their network and patches any identified issues within 24 hours. Which of the following best describe the company's risk response strategy? It's actually a mitigation. They are having the capability to mitigate their servers and different things within 24 hours. You suspect that your server has been a victim of web-based attack. Which of the following port would most likely to be seen in the logs indicating the target of the attack? Is it the web-based? Web-based would be a 80 or 443, but 80 is not mentioned there. If the 80 or 443 both will be going to mention here, I will definitely going to select for the 81, because it's not a secure. Whereas 443 is HTTPS secure, but it haven't mentioned the 80, but we are going with the 443 because it's a web-based attack, and so website hosted on this port. Next, this is a simulation picture. A simulation picture is telling us that the difference in packets are actually flooded over the server, and server sending the response to another spoofed IP. So it's obviously going for a SYN flood. So what actually the attacker is doing here in the three handshake, it is actually sending the SYN request, but sending the SYN request with a different IP address. So whenever the server will respond, server is going to respond on these different IP addresses rather than back to the attacker side. So it's actually flooding the server with the SYN packets. So here is one other image. So order of evidence collection. Okay, order of evidence collection. So there are different options are given: swap, process cache, hard drive, and random access memory. Remember the process. Remember that you need to remember the layers. So in this case, first of all, you need to, in this case, as is mentioned here, you need to collect the evidence from the cache first, because whatever you will going to attempt, the cache is the first which is overridden by the different data. So always get the data from the processor cache first, then from the read access memory, because RAM is again going to be uh, overwritten with different data. So first of all, go for the cache, processor cache. Then second, random access memory. On the third, swap file, the files are there which are swapping. And on the fourth, go for the hard drive or the USB, because this is the permanent storage devices, and the data will not be going to be easily overwritten rather than of your choice. Okay, so first one is order will be process, random, swap, and hard drive. So processor cache, random access memory, swap file, and hard drive will be the answer for this one. Next one, you are analyzing the following network utilization report because you suspect one of the server has been compromised. Okay, now tell me which of the server has been compromised. So here are the four different IP address mentioned to us: 2, 3, 4, and 5. The name for the servers, uptime 7 day, 4 day, 12 day, and 2 day. Then there are historical uh, usage 42, 1, 3, and 5, and the current 44, 2, 24, and 4. Okay, we can clearly see that on the IP address dot 4, db server 01 is actually more than its historical usage of space, which is 24, more like 21 GB extra. So it is the actually the suspect compromise or maybe a compromised server. So dbs01. Next, a competitor recently bought DION Training ITIL 4 Foundation Training course, transcribed the video caption into a document, re-recorded the course exactly word for word as an audiobook, then published this newly recorded audiobook for a sale on Audible. How would you classify this situation as a risk to DION training? Which of the following term would you use? So in this case, is actually getting the course, recording the course, actually getting the captions, actually changing the caption into a audiobook and then publishing on the Audible, for example. So it's definitely going to be IP theft, identity theft, not an identity theft, but the IP theft, identity provider theft. Ted, a file server administrator, has noticed that a large number of sensitive files have been transferred from a corporate workstation to an IP address outside of the local area network. Okay. Ted looks up the IP address and determines that it is located in foreign country. Ted contacts his company security analyst who verifies that the workstation's anti-malware solution is up to date and the network firewall is properly configured. What type of attack most likely be occurred to allow the exfiltration of the files? If everything is in perfect situation but still the attack has been happened, it's mean it's a 0 day attack. The attack not known before. Your organization has recently been a target of a spear phishing campaign. You have identified the website associated with the link in the spear phishing email and want to block it. Which of the following technique would be the most effective in this situation? Always go and filter all those URL links, so no one is going to be uh, you have identified website associated with the link spear phishing email. So when okay, I want to block it. If you want to block with application blacklist is okay, but application blacklist is actually URL is not an application actually, so it's not the correct answer. The correct answer will be a URL filter. You can apply URL filter where the URL you paste the URL of the spear phishing email website, then it's obviously going to be filtered and blocked. Which of the following ports should you block at the firewall if you want to prevent a remote login to a server from occurring? Again, a remote login, and the mentioned port for remote login is SMTP. No, obviously 23, port 23, which is secure FTP. You have run a vulnerability scan and received the following output. This is output weak CBC, crypto cyber blockchain, cipher blockchain actually. We protocol weak cyber blockchain server side vulnerability. Okay, which of the following category should be classified as? This vulnerability will be web application crypto. Yes, well, because CBC is actually cipher blockchain. Cipher blockchain. CBC is actually a cyber blockchain. So whenever you will going to see this message, it's obviously a crypto ready to cryptographic vulnerability. So it's obviously going to be a web application cryptographic vulnerability in this case. Which command on a Mac OS or Linux is used to change the permission of a file? So the command which will going to be to change the permission will be a change mode. Change mode is actually used to change the permission. Change owner is actually used to change the group or the owner, the file owner name. Sudo is to change super user privilege, to change the actually a user mode. PWD is actually to check the directory. Change mode is the correct answer. DION Training want to reduce the management and administrative cost of using multiple digital certificates. Okay, they need to lower the price. Don't need to sign up for the different certificates for all of their subdomains. Okay, which of the following solution would allow the company to use one digital certificate for all of its subdomains? That's obviously going to put a wildcard. So wildcard is the one where you actually uh, get certificate for your top level domain, and for all the subdomain comes under this. Either come under this, or you can add those domains to your main certificate. So it's obviously a wildcard. During our annual cybersecurity awareness training in your company, the instructor states that employees should be careful as to what information they post on social media. According to the instructor, if you post too much personal information on social media, such as your name, birthday, their hometown, and other personal details, it is much easier for an attacker to conduct which type of attack. It's obviously going for a cognitive password attack, because it's a cognitive password attack is the one attack which is done based on your knowledge getting based on the knowledge. So it's a knowledge based attack where attack passively recognize for your name, for your stuff you are doing, for where you live, and they actually try to put those knowledge based information into your accounts, and maybe they get some positive response. Cognitive password attack is the right answer for this question. You are in a recovery step of an incident response. Your analysis revealed that the attacker exploited an unpatched vulnerability on a public facing web server as an initial intrusion vector in this incident. Which of the following mitigation should be implemented first during the recovery? So, in the recovery case, what you need to do first? Reveal an attacker exploited an unpatched vulnerability on a public facing server initial incident. Okay, restrict shell command. During shell command is not going to be helpful. Disable unused user account and reset administrator credential. Maybe scan the network for additional instance for this vulnerability and patch the affected system. Can be restrict host access. In all of these cases, during the recovery in the, because attack is already done, so you can not do anything else. but you need to patch those vulnerability on the different machines before the attacker get to those machines. So scan the network for additional instance for this vulnerability and patch the system may be the right answer. What process is used to conduct an inventory of critical system components and devices within an organization? Obviously, an asset management. Asset management is the one where you actually collect actually make a note of what the critical systems you have, what the components you have, what the devices you have. All the list of the machine or and other stuff is going to be in the asset management phase. You are conducting an incident response and have traced the source of the attack to some compromised user credential. After performing log analysis, you discover that the attacker was successfully authenticated from an unauthorized foreign country. So management is now asking for you to implement a solution to help mitigate this type of attack occurring again. Which of the following should you implement first? It's actually a location wise like from foreign you the attack has been happened, so the only authentication you can provide and in this case is actually a context based authentication, not a single sign-on. Password complexity different. Self-service password is also not going to be help you. There is context-based authentication like location-based. For example, if you are currently in Islamabad, you need to authenticate yourself. If you are in Rawalpindi, you need to authenticate based on that. If you are in Lahore, you can do you need to provide the authentication based on the different location. Or also you are if you are for example in Dubai, you need to also provide the authentication there also. So it is actually showing mentioning regarding the foreign country, but also regarding the foreign areas, different areas. So the correct answer will be context-based authentication. Which of the following methods should a cybersecurity analyst use to locate any instances on the network where passwords are being sent in clear text? Go and check the logs or capture the full packets. Obviously, same email log monitoring is good, but full packet capture, in full packet capture you can see the clear text passwords, non-encrypted one. You can see those password clear text passwords. You are creating a script to filter some logs so that you can detect any suspected malware beaconing. Okay, which of the following is not a typical means of identifying a malware beacon's behavior on the network? Okay, the removal of non-traffic. The beacon's persistence going to be helpful. The beacon's protocol. Okay, the beacon interval. No. So the beacon protocol is actually always going to be used with the different protocols, not the individual itself. So it's not going to be helpful for us mentioning the protocol behavior, because it's always going to be work with the different protocols to uh, to process, but individual standing alone is not helpful for us in any case. Which of the following is the most important feature to consider when designing a system on chip? System on chip, like the new system. Type of real-time operating system in use. Ability to interface with industry control system. Not going to be helpful actually. Not important feature actually. Ability to reconfigure other manufacturer. Not a good idea. Space and power saving. Yes. So system on a chip where you can design a chip in a way that it behave like a system is obviously going to be save your space and also save your power. Obviously this is the right answer. DION Training has performed an assessment as a part of their disaster recovery plan. The assessment found that the organization's raid takes an average about 8 hours to repair when two drives within the raid fail. Which of the following metrics would be the best represented? 8 hours to repair, mean time to repair. Mean time to repair. Which of the following password policy defines the number of previous password that cannot be reused when the resetting the user's password? There's obviously going to be a password history because you are not that will only contain your old password, and will check that your new password is either in the list of prehistory or not. So password history is going to be helpful for you. Your intrusion detection system IDS has produced an alert based on its review of series of network packets. After analysis, it is determined that the network packet did not contain any malicious activity. Okay, how should you classify this alert? Okay, IDS actually flagged it as a malicious positive. It means that it is positive. After analysis, it determined that network packet did not contain any malicious activity, but it was false. So it's actually a false positive. False positive. We were going to mark it as a false positive. A supplier needs to connect several laptops to an organization network as a part of their service agreement. These laptops will be operated and maintained by the supplier. Victor, a cybersecurity analyst for the organization, is concerned that these laptops could potentially contain some vulnerability that could weaken the security posture of the network. Obviously, what can Victor do to mitigate the risk to other devices on the network without having direct administrative access to the supplier laptop? Implement a jump box system. Two-factor authentication is not going to be helpful for your other devices. Increase the encryption, not going to be helpful for you. Scan the laptop for vulnerability and patch them, good option but not going to helpful. Implement a jump box system. Jump box system is a good option. Why jump box is a good option? Because you are actually putting a bridge between your actual devices and between this new devices. So you can, and in that case you can also test that device. You can also connect that device and also secure the area between that zone. So jump box is definitely going to be helpful for you in this case. Several users have contacted the help desk to report that they received an email from a well-known bank stating that their accounts have been compromised, and they need to click here to reset their banking passwords. Some of these users are not even customer of their particular bank. Though, which of the following social engineering principle is being utilized as a part of phishing campaign? There's obviously going to be a familiarity. They are actually showing us the familiarity with the banking system, whereas the if it's in case of the phishing, that it should be going to be a phishing attack, not a spear phishing. But here for this case, it is actually a familiarity. It is actually showing us the familiarity with their banks. So maybe the in the people of the 100, maybe there will be a 10% who are actually having the account in that specific bank, and they maybe out of those 10, maybe 3 or 2 could be a part of this, could be become a victim for this attack. So it is actually showing us the familiarity. What control provides the best protection against both SQL injection and cross-site scripting attack? SQL injection, you need to input the value. In cross-site scripting, you also need to provide in the input. So in this case, input validation will be a good answer. If you validate the input, you can actually secure this and this. If an administrator cannot fully remediate a vulnerability, which of the following should they implement? If they are not able to remediate the vulnerability, they should implement some type of controls that can actually help to lower the risk. So he should apply access to a compensating control. He should implement a compensating controls that are going to be helpful to that the administrator. Which of the following cryptographic algorithm is classified as stream cipher? Stream cipher is only a RC4. RC4 is only a stream cipher where DES, AES, and blowfish are actually a block cipher. RC4 is only a stream cipher. Okay, Yoyodyne system have has recently bought out its competitor. Okay, I will call this name as W system and Y system. Y system, which went out of business due to series of data breaches. As a cybersecurity analyst, you are assessing W existing application and infrastructure. During your analysis, you discover the following URL is used to access an application. www. This apps account info act is equal to 1234. Okay, so here we can clearly see that the vulnerability is actually here. Act is equal to 1234. Direct object referencing. You can change a URL and 1234 to 6 rather than 5. You can also use a 6, and notice that the different user account information is now displayed. Which of the following type of the vulnerability threat is obviously a IDOR, insecure direct objection reference, where you are not validating your input, your object referencing, and but they are returning the output. Insecure direct object reference. In an effort to improve the security of DION Training Corporate Network, a security administrator wants to update the configuration of their wireless network to have IPsec built into a protocol by default. Additionally, the security administrator would like for a NAT network address translation to no longer be required for extending the number of IP address available. So actually, NAT is a network address translation where your your public IP address can be used by different devices to access the internet network, which is connected to the IP4. What protocol should the administrator implement on the wireless network to achieve their goals? So he actually don't need to use the NAT and IP addresses. He also not need to extend the IP addresses available. So obviously you need to go for the IPv6 because IPv6 having the multiple, like the n number of IP addresses. So you can go for IPv6 where you don't need to NAT, where you don't need to extend your IP address by subnetting or other stuff. Go with IPv6, brother. Fail to pass system. Okay, has just become the latest victim in large scale data breach by an APT, advanced persistent threat. Your initial investigation confirms a massive exfiltration of customer data has occurred. Which of the following action do you recommend to the CEO to fail to pass system in handling that? You need to notify your people. Provide a statement to press that minimizing the scope of the breach. Okay, but not an ethical way. Conduct a hack back. Uh, okay, but not an ethical way. Need to first of all notify your people. Conduct notification to all affected customer within. Yes, you have to. This is the ethical way only. Purchase a cipher insurance policy and alter the Purchasing a cyber insurance policy after the breach is not going to be helpful. It again it's like giving the your blame to the insurance policy insurance team. It's not going to be helpful again. So conduct notification, and you need to notify your customer regarding the breach within your 2 hours. So they prepare their devices or their accounts beforehand. Frank and John have started a secret club together. They want to ensure that when they send messages to each other, they are truly unbreakable. Truly unbreakable. What encryption key would provide the strongest and most secure encryption? ECC with a 256-bit key. ECC is actually a good choice where you get a good protection with low power usage. Good choice. AES with 256, no. DES with 56-bit is actually weaker than the ECC. Randomize one-time use password. Yes. So when you randomize the one-time password, like for each message you need to send the OTP. In this case, you definitely going to be this message going to be unbreakable and strongest one-time OTP for each message. Wow. Every new employee at DION Training must sign a document to show they understand the proper rules of using the company's computers. This document states that the new employee has read the policy that indicates what can and cannot be done from a corporate workstation. Which of the following document best describe this policy? So, SLA, OP, and MOU. MOU is the different. SLA is a service level agreement, different. So is also a different one. AUP actually, AUP, which is acceptable user policy, will definitely going to be a agreement between the employee and between the corporate that he actually read the policy. So he's actually accepting the employee accepting that I agree and will state the following. So AUP, acceptance user policy, is the right answer. Which of the following biometric authentication factor relies on matching pattern on the surface of eye near infrared imaging? Factor matching the pattern is obviously going for the iris scan. Matching the pattern. Retina scan is actually you're scanning the retina for the veins. Iris scan is the one with matching the pattern surface of eye using infrared imaging. A cybersecurity analyst in your company notices that an attacker is trying to crack the WPS pin associated with a wireless printer. The device logs show that attacker tried 000, 001, 2 and continued incremented by 1, brute forcing the WPS. Found the correct pin, this. Which of the following type is obvious the brute force? You want to create a new mobile application, develop it in the cloud. You just sign up for a cloud-based service provider offering to allow you to develop it using their programming environment. Which of the following best describe which type of service you have just purchased? IES is actually an infrastructure structure as a service where you are provided with the CPU, RAM, and hard drive. You need to do the stuff. Platform as a service is actually a true answer for this one, because they are giving you a platform where you can develop your program or develop your application. It is the right answer. Which of the following vulnerability involves leveraging access from a single virtual machine to other virtual machine? This vulnerability is actually a VM escape vulnerability. When an attacker access one virtual machine, Due to that vulnerability, it can actually pivot to a other virtual machine, which is very dangerous, obviously dangerous. VM escape is actually that vulnerability is known as. You are in a recovery step of an incident response. Throughout the incident, your team never successfully determined the root cause of the network compromise. Which of the following options would you least likely perform as a part of your recovery and remediation? Disable unused user account, proactively sanitize the DMH routers and switches, review the enhanced patch management system, restrict hosts, firewall protocol like USB and Bluetooth. Maybe. So your team never successfully determined the root cause of network compromise. Which of the following option would if they are not able to find the root cause, the best answer that actually with this statement is you proactively sanitize and re-image all your router and switches. Sanitize means that checking for the updates, patching them, and re-imaging means that imaging the router and switches so they can actually evaluate each one by one, compare those things. So proactively sanitize will be a great option in this case. We left with the 20s. Several users have contacted the help desk to report that they received an email from a well-known banking stating that their account has been compromised. Click here to reset banking password. Some of these users are not the customers bank account through which they are following and best described. So the phishing email has been sent to a different customer to also to those who are also not the part of that bank. It's obviously a phishing. If it's sent to a specific group, then it will be a spear phishing, but in this case it's a phishing. You need to determine that the best way to test operating system patches in a lab environment prior to deploying them to an automated patch management system. Unfortunately, your network has several different operating systems in use, but you only have one machine available to test the patches on. Which of the best environment utilize? So if you are provided with only one machine to check the patches, you actually is best way is to actually virtualize the operating system there and test the your patches on them. Sandboxing is only the one. A virtualization is actually installing different multiple operating system on one machine and test those patches on that one. Which of the following categories would contain information about an individual race and ethnic origin? Race and is these are actually are specific and special cases. So it is actually the sensitive information is always going to be a part of SPI. SPI also stands for sensitive personal information. So race and ethnic are sensitive information and they are part of categorized as SPI, sensitive personal information. Your company has just finished replacing all of its computer with a brand new workstation. One of your co-worker has asked the owner company if she have a old computer that are about to be thrown away. Would like to refurbish the old computer and by reinstalling a new operating system and donate them to a local community center for disadvantaged children in a neighborhood. The good choice, good thinking, good idea. The owner think this is a great idea, but it's concerned that the private and sensitive corporate data on the old computer hardware might be placed at a risk of exposure. Go and erase all the data. That's going to be a good answer. You have been asked to choose the best solution to sanitize this and sanitization method. The wiping is actually a good answer in this case. If you actually get something it is saying that cryptography encryption is there, then the answer you need to select the answer that you need a cryptographic erase on that encrypted hard drives to erase all the data. But if there is no such a encryption, the normal is there, so you just need to wipe all and each and everything from the hard drive, so it is useful for the other one and you will be in the safe position also. Which type of method is used to collect information during a passive reconnaissance? Man in the middle attack, network traffic sniffing, public accessible resources, or social engineering. Social engineering, you need to contact the person is actually active. Man in the middle is also an active. You are in the middle and you are actually working with the packet. Network traffic sniffing, you are also in the network and sniffing the stuff is also active. Public accessible sources like the LinkedIn and other stuff to get the information is actually a passive reconnaissance. Your company has created a baseline image for all of its workstation using Windows 10. Unfortunately, the image included a copy of Solitaire. Okay, it's an application, and CIO has created a policy to prevent anyone from playing the game on the company's computer. So this will be a game maybe. You have been asked to create a technical control to enforce the policy that was recently published. What type of implement you need to actually add that game to a blacklist? So application blacklist would be a great choice here. Come on. You have recently been hired as a security analyst at DION Training. On your first day, your supervisor begins to explain the way their network is configured, showing you the physical and logical placement of each firewall, IDS sensor, host based IPS installation, and network spam filter, and the DMS regional meterized zone. What best describe how these various devices are placed into the network for the highest level of security? You need to check the defense in depth, how they are actually layering all those stuff. Alexa is an analyst for a large bank that has offices in multiple states. She wants to create an alert to detect when an employee from a one bank office logs into a workstation located at an office in another state. What type of detection and analysis is Alexa configuring? It's actually checking for the behavior. It's checking behavior from where location, from which location the employee is accessing the system. A firewall administrator has configured a new DMZ to allow public system to be segmented from organization internal network. The firewall now has three security zones: untrusted internet, DMZ, trusted intranet. The firewall administrator has been asked to enable remote desktop access from a fixed IP, okay, to a work from his home office hours. No, sorry, IP on a remote network to a remote desktop server in the DMZ in order to CSO to be able to work from home. These are bosses, they need to work from home. This is the home internet is static. Okay, this is the IP address from which you need to access the system. The remote server assigned the IP address of the server is this one. What rule should we implement? Permit 32 322 no 323221.14 permit this IP address to this IP address on RDP remote desktop protocol, which is port number 3389. So this is a good answer, because this is not the right answer, because it's telling us the whole network. 24 is the whole network. You are helping to set up a backup plan for your organization. The current plan states that all of the organization server must have a daily backup conducted on them. These backups are then saved on a local NAS NAS device. You have been asked to recommend a method to ensure the backup will work when they are needed for restoration. Which of the following would occur? You are helping to set up the back. Okay, in this case, set up strict script automatically. No, attempt to restore a test server from backup file to verify. Okay, frequently restore the server from backup file. No, create an additional copy of it. In this case, to test the backups, you need to test them on a test server and verify them either they are working or not. Will be a good option. A cybersecurity analyst is preparing to run a vulnerability scan on a dedicated Apache server that will be moved into a DMZ. Which of the following vulnerability scan is most likely to provide valuable information to an analyst? So port scanning is actually scanning the whole complete host. Database vulnerabilities is not mentioned using the database. Network vulnerability scan, you need to be in the network. Web application vulnerability scan, because it is using a Apache server, then obviously it is hosting some service. So web application security will be a good answer. Which of the following cryptographic algorithm is classified as asymmetric? Which one is the asymmetric? Asymmetric is the DSA. Rest of them are actually symmetric. During which incident response phase is the preservation of evidence performed? Preservation is actually performed in containment, eradication, and recovery stage in all of these cases. Consider the following snips. IP address of this. So here is the source, the port number 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Oh, okay, the port scan is actually happening on the source 2222. Destination is .6. Is actually a port scanning, is scanning the port. Port scan targeting 3.2, 3 no. Port scan targeting 306. Yes, destination is .6. So port scanning targets 36. The management at Stevens' work is considered about a raw device being attacked to a network. Which of the following solution would quickly provide the most accurate information that Steve could use to identify raw devices on a wired network? You need to go and check your switches and MAC address reporting. Always go there. Physical survey is not going to be helpful. Yes, but not. You can't say by look that the yes it's a raw device or not. Reviewing the central non-discovery scan is also different. So router and switch based MAC address is a good option. Which of the following technology is not a shared authentication protocol? Authentication protocol. So OpenID Connect is actually authentication protocol. Auth is again a shared authentication protocol. Facebook Connect is also authentication protocol. LDAP is actually a sharing server. So LDAP is not a shared authentication protocol. Sarah is working at a startup that is focused on making secure banking apps for smartphones. Her company needs to select an asymmetric encryption algorithm to encrypt the data being used by the app. Due to the need of the high security of the banking data, the company needs to ensure that whatever encryption they use is considered to be strong, but also need to minimize the processing power. If you need the maximum encryption power and minimize the power time, you always go for the ECC encryption. Is 256 bit is equal to 256 bit of DES and AES, which is a massive change. Which algorithm should Sarah use? Or say ECC? Yes, ECC. You are attending a cybersecurity conference